I'm going up and to the right.
Where Bob's?
What the hex is going on, ladies and gentlemen?
What the hex is you guys talking about?
Pulsechain.
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 Pulschain.
Pulsechain.
Pulschain.
Pulsechain.
Pulschain.
Pulsechain.
What the hex?
The damn hex is going on, guys.
What the P-die?
What the P-die, exactly. I'm the P-die llama. How you guys is doing? Jesus Christ, we're all wrecked. We're all wrecked up in here.
Yes.
In this,
Parched,
yes.
parched from the heat.
in this ecosystem. It's crazy.
Are lasers burning you down, Papa B?
No, but you know that little kerfuffle over in Maui turned out to be a lot more serious than I made it at the beginning.
Oh.
I reported it to you guys and said, "Oh, yeah, there's 6 people that lost their lives." Yeah, no, it's probably going to be 10
like
times
30.
that, you know.
Yeah, it's
a
like
lot.
60, I read, or 85 or
No,
something.
it was 90, 98, 99
Jesus Christ.
2 days ago.
Oh my
so
God.
it's
Oh my
getting
God.
worse and worse and worse. It was real bad. Real bad. So we
But I
give our
I
hearts
heard
and our...
that the houses of the elites were untouched.
Oprah Winfrey, she's still rocking and rolling. Lots of controversies around these fires, but I think it's just
So
fires.
she had the brick house, not the wooden one, right?
She's a brick. House.
House. No. Forget the controversies. Forget why. The aftermath must be dealt with immediately. There's real people, you know, that have their problems, so we have to help them
100%.
out.
100%. All right. Let me say hi to the chat real quick before we go into things. Nom Nom says he's third, but he in fact made first position. Congratulations. Golf clap.
First, third place. Congrats.
First, third place.
Good. Hexen is B second, and Dorsey. People are complaining about this new time slot, Papa B. Like this
I'm
is
glad it
not
doesn't
working.
work for you. You know? I'm glad it doesn't
Dorsey's
work
not
for
so
you.
bad, right?
But
If
we
we
don't
shed
care.
on Dorsey, I don't know. Dorsey, it's in between you being inconvenienced and me being dead. So
Yeah.
it's a very big difference. 4 a.m. for me now is really rough. So I appreciate
You have
your
to
patience.
choose the worst of evil.
And we wouldn't mind if you saw
Papa
it
B's
taped,
blood
so-
pressure was critical. Like his vitals were like on the brink of demise. No.
it's
Like
true.
we
Thank
we
you.
had to move it.
The only
had to
thing that
move
would
it.
save me was like copious amounts of marijuana, and I just can't smoke anymore.
We got Hex and SB. Oh yeah, new time slot. The original Hex swimmer. Thanks for changing the time slot. Not
Oh my gosh.
DJ Doggy. What the hex exactly? 3
Yeah,
p.m. What?
I
Keep
barely
on
get
having-
out of grade school at that time,
People
says
have-
DJ and Hex again.
Oh my god. Yeah, exactly. That body mechanic is here. Not first. Not at all. We got
Body
Red
mechanic.
Squirrel in the chat. Brizology in the house. What's up,
Hey,
guys?
Sell your
Brizology.
Bitcoin. Brizology, please.
Hey, Wild SJ, check TG. I cannot check TG from here. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
what's the
X Force
matter?
1.
Hold on, I can. Shall I
Maybe
check
you,
TG?
maybe you check. You check TG.
check, one check.
Maybe.
Check it,
It's
check it,
X
check it.
now.
So we're waiting for Brandon from Rags2Riches, who
Yeah.
looks like
who does not respect you or anything
looks
you
like
plan
he's
with
let
it.
us down.
No, not us. You,
No.
especially you.
just me,
I-
especially me.
Just me.
Yeah.
Just you.
Wait.
Although he's been
SJ.
shilling it all day on his channel, I've seen it. So
Wait a second,
he's on
is
his
this-
way.
Yo, is SJ in our chat in our inner sanctum or what?
Nah.
Or is it just the general?
No, Gen Pop. She's in Gen Pop.
Gen Pop, what the hex? I'm checking now. Here I go.
She's in Gen Pop.
Brizology, that's the most Degen play I have.
I'm buying
ever
WPTC.
Made someone.
No, you want to buy this.
If you buy P anything except Hex, you're a Degen and you should get wrecked.
This is what's going on. Is the die pump, the copied die, which is supposed to be worthless. Look at this.
That's so retarded. Jeez.
Is super retarded, but somehow it's working. People aping into that shit is unbelievable. Like we've been 4 zeros and a 1 2 days ago, and now it's 2 zeros and a 2 almost.
Next week it's gonna
Crazy.
be so
Next
many
week-
wrecked people.
Next week's gonna be 5 zeros again.
Oh
But there-
no.
well,
Hey, hold on, Wild SJ, please get into our what the hex or DM me instead of DJ Cryptomatic. He doesn't have.
yeah, please
something
DM
called a phone.
Papa B. I'm
Yeah.
not like I can't do TG on here.
Yeah, I can.
And then there are people like really strategizing about this. There's like at Hodlnomics
What?
on Twitter. Check out him.
Jesus
So he has
Christ.
this like TLDR about why PDI RH did this, RH did that.
Yes.
The Maker
he did it.
DAO.
Okay.
Apparently they amended the Maker DAO contract.
Oof. Why?
Interesting to hear what Rags2Riches has to say about all this. That'll be interesting. But he's not here just yet, so he's held up somewhere. Anyway, so check out. It's a nice. This is all the strategy, crazy Rawr, with the dinosaur at the end.
Who's that at the bottom? Who's
This
that?
It's Richard, right?
RH.
Oh, nice.
RH.
Nice.
So again, check out at Hodlnomics. That's your guy for
Nice.
the P-die theory.
Oh,
Are you
God,
dealing with
that's
this, or are
so-
you avoiding this like the plague?
I didn't know about it until
You didn't until now.
today, and now I'm having allergic reactions when I read stuff like that.
Are you working your next bumpy reaction on your forehead every time you see an opportunity that you miss? You start scratching and itching. Nice.
Yes.
So this is the World Star post. Our guy. What's his name? Damn, gone blank now.
The guy. Our
The guy. I like the guy.
Oh my god! I just messaged him earlier. You see, I'm getting old.
All right.
Jesus
I'm
Christ.
checking.
Westcott Crypto, of course. Damn.
Okay.
Jesus, how can I forget this? He's on World Star, and he made sure that we got the sponsored tweet. So that's what it was. So far, 3,400 likes. Could have been better, but That's what it is. And it's now the viewings in the US are over.
DJ, how many That's What It Is do you have in you anymore? Like, how many left?
How many left? Yeah. It's now in the UK. So here are the cities. Let me enhance. So UK peoples, it's on you now. You have to fill these cinemas. The highest of stakes is airing in Ashton-under-Lyne. Who doesn't know it?
It puts the ash in Ashton. Yeah.
Somewhere near Manchester, up north of England. It's in Basildon. Basil. Don't know where that is. In Birmingham. I know it well. In Cardiff, which is down in Wales somewhere. Edinburgh, up in Scotland.
Wales only.
Down in Wales only. Glasgow. So that's our man, Agenda 69. He needs to get on that. Leeds, middle of the country. In London, Wentford, of all places. In London, that's West London, southwest London.
Wow.
Crazy place, but that's where they view it in Wantham Cinema, cineworld.co.uk. Check the website. But apparently, according to RG3, the London viewing is already sold out. Newcastle. Sorry?
Well, open up another one then.
Yeah, open up as a Hammersmith Odeon or something. Newcastle, that's where Sting is from. Nottingham, half of the community is from Nottingham.
Wait a minute, that's where that's where Robin Hood is from.
Exactly, Sherwood Forest. Oh yeah, Basildon is in Essex, of course.
That's where Basil's from.
Of course, Basil, the mouse.
Essex land sounds pretty good to me.
The only way is Essex.
Essex.
East of London, Essex.
What?
Nice.
Hex
land?
Excess.
What?
S-Hex.
Pulsechain.
It's an S-Hex. So Nottingham, Hexy Barstendam, Hex for Life, they're all from Nottingham. And of course in Sheffield. So that's what we have right now. Somebody's joining us. A wild SJ
appears.
Maybe.
Almost.
With a blank screen.
With a blank screen. Oh, there she is. Take off your lens cap already.
Yes.
I don't know why.
Remove the duct tape from the camera.
Tell us where you're being held hostage for 2 years.
I'm gonna remain silent while I try and fix this.
Okay.
Right. The Only Way is Essex. Exactly. Do you guys know this TV series? The Only Way is Essex. It's full of Essex people showing their vajizzle and stuff.
What?
So,
say what? Now what? How did I miss this?
Oh, and here comes the star of the show.
Yay!
A Wild
Amazing
SJ
high definition
plus
video. Yes.
No, I've got even another guest.
Oh, another guest. A late guest.
A late guest in the green room. The star of the show today, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the supreme leader, the main Ayatollah.
You said
Of
it
the
wrong.
Rags
The supreme
Riches.
leader.
Is there a sub Ayatollah?
The gingerbread man is here. Welcome.
Yay!
Hello.
The Gingatola. The Gingatola.
Gingatola.
Yeah.
How you
Yeah.
doing, Rags?
Yeah, I'm good, guys. I'm sorry. I want to say first off, I got complete respect for your stream here, and I'm very sorry I'm late. I made a decision. I prioritized the space because we were talking about PDI, and there's like 400 people there. So I wanted to make sure people got clarification with that, and I was trying to dig into what the heck it is. So apologize about that, guys.
What the
I'm
heck
really sorry.
it is? Come on,
what
get
the
with
heck?
the program.
Yeah, Hex. Yeah, what the heck it
Welcome
is.
to the What the Heck show, Brandon. We were actually also just talking about that here. So did you learn anything that we might have missed? Can you summarize that in 2-3?
How much of a bullshit is it? Please.
How much of a lemming squad over the cliff will it be?
Okay. All right. I learned quite a bit.
Because the chart, this is a chart, right?
The chart doesn't lie.
Is a full banana situation.
Yes.
Yeah, or a pump and dump. Yes.
So I can summarize this very simply based on an hour worth of Twitter space from everybody. I talked to everybody involved. There's two things. The first thing that's interesting is that there is a smart contract with no front end, or a series of smart contracts that are running in the background via Atropa. Okay. This Atropa is basically providing liquidity for the DAI Atropa pair, for example. And what it's doing, every single trade, it puts that reward back into the liquidity pool and then burns the liquidity tokens. Found that interesting that they actually burn the liquidity tokens so that liquidity can't be rugged. Found that interesting. However, the second part of this is, and I guess that's one way that it's also pumping, on top of the market appreciation, there is a mechanism that is basically helping increase the liquidity pools, which decreases slippage and all that sort of thing. The other part about, yeah, in a way, the problem though, in my mind, is there's so many people with so much copied DAI that would be ready to dump on people. The third problem here is, and I think I've kind of cut through the noise with this, people were telling me on my timeline that it was going to peg at $1, and we've determined, unless somebody can prove me wrong, and they might, just come talk to me about it, we've determined there's no mechanism to influence any sort of peg once it were to hit $1. So at this point, it's a meme coin / store of value. But I will say this too, just to be fair, there's a lot of other things that they talked about that they tried to connect the dots with. I'm not sold on it. Could there be a mechanism that comes into play that once it gets to $1, they could find a way to peg it so it's sold off if it goes too high, or it's bought up if it goes too low? Sure. But these are stretches. Those 3 points I gave you are the facts so far.
Okay.
Yeah, but isn't that more like an elastic supply? It's not really a peg, and we've seen those fail like numerous times.
Well, the problem here is like, to peg it algorithmically or otherwise, you want to have some sort of reserve, right? Because you want something to pull from to buy it up, or you want something to sell it off with. I don't think that there might be wallets with spare DAI that could bootstrap that to a system that bought up or sold off, but there's nothing there right now from what I can tell.
Wasn't there an exploit that minted a lot of PDAI?
I asked about that. That was one of my biggest concerns. It actually wasn't an exploit.
Or
it
like
was
the
a public
mechanic.
Yeah, yeah. So I know exactly what you're talking about, and I brought that up. So there was a public function built in the contract that allowed anybody publicly to be able to mint an ARB. If you want the full explanation, you go to Dipcatcher Twitter. He kind of outlined that. So that was one of the questions I asked, but it wasn't an exploit, I don't think. Yeah.
I mean, what we said on Tuesday's show was that there was an actual possibility in there to mint as many as you wanted, and that the people from the MakerDAO Foundation, because they are the only ones with the keys to the whole thing, actually came onto Pulsechain allegedly and closed that loophole. So they changed something with the code, which would be bullish in a way, so that they might see value in Pulsechain in that regard.
Yeah. Some of the people who are following this closely, Crypto Coffee actually talked about it in the space, and he said that he's received indication that MakerDAO actually came back on. If they came in the first place, they definitely came back a second time, is what he said, and and they've actually turned it on to be able to, like, DAI on Ethereum. You go in, you take an asset, you deposit it, it issues you stable. So I think that he's indicating that they've enabled that now, but I've not verified that, and I don't know that for sure. Uh-oh. Can you guys still hear me, by the way?
Where'd she go? Yeah, we can hear you fine. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay. Well, so basically we're just observing and basically checking what's going on, right? Because that's interesting development.
Yeah, that's the only thing we can do.
Yeah. yeah. So we cannot advise anyone to gamble on that because that whole thing might rock tomorrow.
Yeah,
Might be a good trade. Nobody knows.
You know, but B9 got a lot of requests for code review,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a funny thing because we can't guarantee that there's not, you know, secret little hands dancing around with all the little, you know, strings over them to yank the whole party off its rails at some point. But, you know, right now I think that the code, last time I checked, was looking okay. So we'll see. We're not coming out with anything official yet until we get 2 devs to review everything inside and out. But the scuttlebutt is that, you know, from a mechanical standpoint, in the code, there's no rough stuff. So interesting.
Yeah. My take is like, do we have a precedent for everything P except the hex failing? Like, in a way, yes. Can this
Especially after the farms got rugged.
Yeah, especially.
But this thing's pumping without a farm now. So it's very, I find it very
Farming itself.
So here's one other thing that I'd like to point out for people who might be listening. I got a legal pad here with a bunch of notes I took because I was really curious. So
it's a letter pad, but okay, continue.
Letter pad.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Yes.
You'll allow it? Okay.
Yeah.
So I got to get used to this guy, man. Gotta get used to
Yes.
Come on, we've streamed.
Welcome to my
before.
world. You know, I'm going through this all the
I know,
time.
dude. No, here's the thing. He's the type of person that's in my life everywhere. I'm not used to that on YouTube. So I love it. I love it. Here's the thing that was interesting. All right. There was a group of outsiders from the XRP community that came on the Pulsechain, you know, months and months ago. And they created a WBTC Telegram group. And these people aren't part of what we have going on. Now, this guy now goes by Hodlnomics, okay? So they're taking a look at all these PRs like Wrap Bitcoin. And you remember when Wrap Bitcoin pumped like crazy and then dumped like crazy?
Yeah.
And Richard came on and said, watch out, guys.
Yeah.
Those guys he
after the
created.
He did it in a way.
After the fact.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's that too. But these guys were in a chat room named Wrapped Bitcoin when that was happening. So then what happened? They rebranded the Telegram room and they called it like a PRC 20 Telegram room. So now they were focused on a wide swath of PRC 20s. At that time, from some of the information I got in the stream, they're looking at USDT and USDC. And the story was, how funny would it be if we just bought this up and then suddenly it got pegged up and went to the stars? Now, my skeptical mind says, okay, well, how funny is it that that's actually happening right now? And the same thing happened with Wrap Bitcoin. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. But these are folks that we don't know, we're not familiar with from outside. And that's also just my skeptical mind, being honest with myself and my audience. That's kind of an issue in my head.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah.
It's
can't be
just
trusted.
market forces.
Yeah.
Because someone buys something up, the price goes up, and vice versa. There is no peg to anything in the copies, like in the copied stable coins. They cannot be pegged. There are no real world dollars to peg them to something. It's
right. It doesn't exist right now. It does not exist. So there wouldn't be a peg. So I'm trying to change the narrative on Twitter to reflect what the truth is, which is this is just a meme coin right now.
Yes,
that's what this is.
That's exactly.
It's a PRC20, and it goes up because people buy it up. It will go down because people will sell it.
It would be crazy if all this came true, man, but I can't bank on that. There's just too much for me personally. People
don't bet
make
the
a lot
farm,
of money
guys.
Yeah, don't bet the farm.
Don't
Dear
bet the
God.
farm.
Don't bet the pig.
Speaking of farm, enough of all this crap. I want to get into the full Rags to Riches story here.
Give us the
That
full
was
rag.
Pete, I think. Let me just check chat real quick. We got Alan Fizame
Chad.
with a member chat, 10 months member. Thank you for the 10 months. Good to
Wow.
see Papa slowly turning into Santa Claus with that facial hair.
It'll be
Isn't
Christmas
that what I
in 2
told you in the
years.
green room?
Christmas
It's
in 2
supposed to be
years.
the clean shaven show. Look at you.
I'll clean shave you. In a
Look at
second.
me and
Bad Santa.
Peter.
He's the bad Santa.
And we got Hex Hoggle. Rags usually uses a maxi pad. That's very funny. I was like,
I use a mattress actually.
it's a female hygiene product. And Torrent Inc. with a 12-month member chat. Thank you for the 12 months. Long live Richard Hart and Hexico. So
Yes.
Rags, we got, or Brandon, I should say. Or
Yeah.
everybody calls you Rags all the time, but it's really
Yeah,
Brandon.
it is what it is. Yeah.
Go Brandon. I guess you're used to it by now. We got 62 people watching. Smash the likes. The inquiring minds want to know, how did you start your career in the moonshine trade?
I'm sorry.
Ooh.
Well, first you got to get a really
This is Papa
powerful
B.
engine.
So
Oh,
there
yeah,
was
sure.
Peter, what are you doing? Are you killing my story here?
He's bad Santing. He's still running with the last little joke.
So there was
he can't-
Uncle Billy, right? He had the flatbed Ford, and he
Well,
had this
Yeah, you know,
cabin
and
in the woods, right?
at certain times around where I live, you can go out on your back porch and you can smell the corn malt for miles and miles. It's great, dude.
So is that
So-
what's going on? Yeah.
So Franklin County, Virginia is the moonshine capital of the world. And I grew up in that area. So
Oh.
the moonshine is prolific. It proliferates during the fall season. We'll just say
So
that.
it's fair to say you knew who made the moonshine too in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
city. I actually
Yeah.
have footage of that. So this was
Oh,
your
yeah.
first distillery, right?
Is that your
Yes.
mining rig?
That was my little baby, my first little batch there. That's
enhance.
so cool.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had, if you look in the back, there was a standalone, extremely expensive air conditioning unit.
Yeah.
And I went to Lowe's and I got a bunch of the ducting, and I taped or somehow attached the ducting to the back of the exhaust fans on each one of these miners. And dude, if you had one before, they're just so freaking hot. And I had it in a house that had a concrete coal cellar. So the house is from the 20s.
Right.
So the way that it worked back in the 20s is they back the truck up, they lift the window, and they dump coal straight into your basement so you could shovel it into the furnace.
Okay.
So obviously it's not used that way anymore, but in that house, that's how it was used. So yeah, so I had my network cables there. You saw my other network cable going up. If you get Ant miners, they've got some network software that comes with it that allows you to manage everything. And those are my
Okay.
first babies, man.
I have a question.
yeah.
What are those snips for? Is it like in case the cops come down and they gotta bust you? You gotta snip the power off.
Nothing here.
That's a good question, man. I don't know. I
It looks like
terminated my
pliers,
own.
though.
It might be
No, it's
pliers.
not. It's not
I would
pliers,
also
it's snips.
terminate my own cables. So
Ooh.
whenever you have a Cat 6 cable or Cat 5 cable, you just kind
Right.
of barely squeeze it and twist it.
Twisted pair.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's a tin snip though. That's like you're gonna break out of prison or something.
Well, you can use anything that's sharp, just
Prison
barely.
break.
Barely.
Well, Peter's wit cannot cut any cables.
But I'm interested in the cooling part here because they must generate crazy heat. And in your tweet, you mentioned from Lowe's. You went up to Lowe's and got some spare parts. Is that the competition
That's
in
the
America
hardware-
to
Home Depot.
Yeah, Home
Is
Depot.
that-
Yeah.
So which one is better?
I like
Depot?
Lowe's. I like Lowe's person. I don't know why.
Because
I
Home
think
Depot is more for like decorating, and Lowe's is like the real thing.
they're
No,
always across near each other. Yeah, go
both
ahead,
the
Papa.
same thing. They
Yeah.
got a whole bunch of people in blue and orange shirts. They're in the aisle that you're not in, and then when you get them, they say, "Oh, I don't think we have that." And that's the end. That's the whole experience. They're the same.
Yeah.
I actually met a Home Depot greeter for the first time.
Mainstream crypto influencers are the Walmart greeters of the crypto space. You're welcome, DJ Cryptomatic.
That's Walmart. The Walmart
You're
has a
welcome.
greeter. Home Depot
He
doesn't
said
have a
Walmart.
greeter.
Production quality here, guys. Nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
Not really. This is like the abs of the internet. You came. I know you've never been on here, but this is like
No, I love it.
We're the drags of this syndicate.
No, it's good. I love it. I love it.
No, but there was this nice chap with the orange, the trousers and the thing, and he said, "Hello, feller, what you looking for?" So that's your Walmart greeter, right?
Feller.
That's
I
what he
love it
said.
when you talk with the Midwest drawl. It's always funny coming out of a German. Hello,
I know.
Hello, feller.
What do
How
I
are you
know
doing?
about all this?
Yeah.
So again, the cooling system. How did you manufacture that?
Yeah, so here's how. So the first thing that you want to do, instead of letting all that, well, you don't want it to get too hot because it cooks the circuit boards, and there's a particular temperature that it needs to stay at. And you can, when you plug in that network software that comes from Bitmain, you can see the temperatures of each of the machines. So what you want to do is you want to attach ducting to each of the exhaust fans here, and then you want to push that latent heat outside. So what you don't see to the left of these and behind, there is the swinging door. It's like a small window. It might be probably about this big. So what I did was, let me actually do this. I cut, 6 or 8 holes in a piece of plyboard like that. And then I would attach this ducting, and I would attach it to that hole. So it went straight out the back of the property. And then what you do, go ahead.
It's the foily things behind the.
Yeah, that's the
foily things. Yes, that's a technical
here the
expression.
Yes,
and then goes all the way up here.
Tube. Yes.
Yeah, and now
impressive.
some people they'll immerse this into like, I think it's mineral oil, or just a very non-conductive oil for cooling. Obviously, I didn't want to spend thousands of dollars for that, so I got a cooling unit, and you can only see the very edge of it to the right-hand side of the picture. And basically what you want to do, you want to push the heat out the back, but you want these intake fans on the front to suck in the cool air. So I cooled the room around it while dispersing the heat out the back, and that's what's happening here.
Did it work? Did it work well?
How much did it cost to run?
So did it work well? I would say that it worked well because it kept the machines right at that threshold. If I hadn't done it that way, it would have been much hotter. So it worked for what I needed.
From my experience in horticulture, so to speak, I would only be concerned about the length of the duct versus the fan, the pushing power of the fan, because it can't get all the way out the property. So if it's only like 5-6 feet, it's okay. But it looked like you invested lots and lots of yardage there. Is that what happened?
I didn't. I think they only had one size of ducting, if I remember correctly. I think it was actually my wife and I shopping for it. So I got one size, but fortunately that room, it's probably about 12 feet long, but it's probably only about 6 to 8 feet deep. So it wasn't a large space to push that out.
Right on.
Pretty cool. But which year was that, if you don't mind sharing?
2006. No. 2016 into 2016, 2017, and 2018.
Wow. So you're that long already yeah, so you're a crypto veteran.
Yeah, my
you're a
first
military
Coinbase
veteran, but also
I am.
a salute but also a crypto veteran, right?
Yeah. I really started paying attention with at least 50% of my faculties to cryptocurrency probably around 2016. I set my Coinbase account in 2013. So when I set that up, there was only Bitcoin that you could trade, and then they added Ethereum and Litecoin. I forgot which order. And then for a long time, they only had 3 to trade on there.
Okay.
And the market started pumping back up. My friend was talking about Facebook. He was into mining, and I knew about Bitcoin. And here's the thing: I wish I hadn't mined at all. Wish I'd invested it all into the market.
Bought the coins instead.
Yeah, because you just got to have a lot of capital to do well.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, I spent tons of money, but I didn't spend $800,000 for 150 machines and a full setup, and a cooling system and all that. So
yeah.
I wish I had just done that. I think the guy that was actually helping me out was scamming me. I was his minor exit liquidity in a way. So
The canary in the
you
coal
gotta
mine.
learn.
But were you actually able to mine some blocks with that, or was it just fractions of
no,
coins
not blocks.
No.
So the way that
But
it
you had
works
to
is,
sell to fund the operation, right? For electricity and all that.
Yeah. So at that point in time, the hash rate was such where it's pointless to try to do it on your own if you didn't have enough machines. So you would join mining pools. So you would gather together your hash power, and then you guys would focus. And if a person in your group cracked the code or got the block, then you'd split the rewards based on the amount of hash power that you're putting out. So so I was getting a pretty steady return. I was getting a pretty consistent return. It's just that I hated the risk of having these things because they ran so hot. They were from China. There's no regulations. I was afraid he was going to burn the property down, man. And I was paying, really. And I was paying so much in electricity. It's like if the FBI flew over my the house and the property be white hot, and the electricity costs were so much. I think I was paying 7 cents per kilowatt hour, maybe somewhere around there, and you just didn't have a huge profit margin. And I'm like, dude, I could go buy an ATM for $2,000 and make $200 a month.
So Rags, be honest though.
Yeah,
you should have started off the right way. Moonshine.
Much more profitable.
Take it all the way back.
Might have been a little bit higher risk, but I should have followed in the family footsteps. That's what you're asking.
But then you were like this Bitcoin guy, and you didn't join Hex in its first year. Is that fair to say that you came after Big Payday?
Oh, dude. So I came way after Big Payday. So I had a group of people that I was talking about crypto with in Telegram, non-paid group. And I started out with like 3 folks. My buddies invited me to my own Telegram group. They're like, okay, start talking about it. So we did that, and then we grew it to like 50 people, then 100 people, 200, 300 people, whatever. And then I got targeted by ads. I'm pretty sure it was late 2020 by Richard Hart.
Right.
And I remember him talking about like, this is your last shot. And I assumed that he was talking about, Big Payday.
Yeah.
Get in now. And he's in the adoption amplifier time. I don't know the exact times there, but late 2020, somewhere in 2020, mid 2020 to late.
Yeah.
And I thought he was an absolute scammer. I came from like a sales background, and I was a sales manager. So my job was to not hire salespeople, it was to fire them constantly. Yep. In fact, I'd probably have to fire 5 to find one good one, 5 or 6.
Okay.
And
based on what? Because they were not producing, or the numbers?
There's so many. So here's the thing: when you get high IQ salespeople, they like to exercise that high IQ in such a way that screws people quite often, unfortunately. And if you've been in the sales industry, that's just the name of the game. It sucks. Right. So
take your client's money and put it in your pocket.
Yeah. Not good for business. Let's just put it that way. Okay. So I recognize a lot of the same characteristics and traits based on what Richard was putting out at that time. I didn't know that was actually on purpose. So I didn't know it was marketing, but it served its purpose. It got me to follow him, and I kept seeing him more and more, log into Twitter, and here's what was crazy was I was making Bitcoin videos. I made Safe Moon videos on YouTube. I was completely crypto dumb.
Wrecked.
I will say this though. I mean, here's the thing. It was like I was preaching buy and hold, which was good. I was preaching if you're gonna play with fire, like 1 to 3% of your portfolio only, which was good because it didn't get I had people make a lot of money off Safe Moon, quite honestly. But the problem was I knew nothing really about crypto other than Bitcoin mining, other than getting wrecked because I used leverage trading in 2018. And then I taught myself the new way, which is to buy and hold. But then when I started listening to Richard, he tied everything together in such a way that I never could. And he talked about everything that I was trying to talk to my folks about. but he packaged it in a much better way. He communicated in a much better way, and he provided context, and he talked about the implications in such a way that I never could. And I was like, dang. So I bought Hex probably late 2020, early 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I was still skeptical of the man, and I didn't want to tell my group about it because I didn't want to get them wrecked, I started doing more and more research, and finally I was like, okay, let's do it. So I onboarded about 300 people into Hex by creating one video and talking about it in the room, and said, guys, I checked all this out.
Yeah.
Everything's
the real
good.
Deal.
He's the real deal. I understand that he looks freaking crazy, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the contract's the contract. I've done my research and I presented my case to everybody. And that's how it happened. And
but it took you a bit longer to see what we then have seen, all of us here, fairly early. And you didn't know him from the Bitcoin days, right? That was...
I did not, no.
Because he was involved with this whole 2X when there was this battle with the New York meeting. I'm sure you are aware of this. And when they
I've
debated over increasing the block size and all that stuff. And apparently he was like very involved in these discussions. And
here's what's crazy. What's crazy about crypto is there's so many paths that you can choose. So you got to understand, when I was in crypto, the first community that I got into was the mining community. And it was like a IRC chats and just like 99 Bitcoins and that was my first little community. And I networked kind of regionally with other people in North Carolina and this or that were doing it. But but I wasn't a part of crypto Twitter in any significant way whatsoever. I was just focused on mining and focused on, the calculators and focused on trying to scale and doing all that stuff. So I wasn't involved in any of the actual group think happening in crypto.
Right.
Yep.
And my question is always, did you actually, because you teamed up with Crypto Heartbeat for the Texan token project and the Texit movement, and also now your new project that I think just launched yesterday for the Philippines, right? Did you meet him through the Hex community, or did you guys know each other from before?
Yeah, so I think that I'm just going to use a term that other people have used. I think Crypto Heartbeat and I were like kind of the second generation streamers that were streaming about Hex. And we started about the same time. So that's actually how we met.
Yeah.
I think he was interviewing tons of people, and he hits me up. And I agreed to an interview, and that's how we started meeting and talking, and we kind of shared some of the we shared some of the same values, this and that. He approached me probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 months after that. So this is 2021, and he said, "Hey man," he was like, Ray, which is the developer, and myself, we've been working on something for potentially this organization here, and he gives me the details, and he was like, would you like to be in on this? And I said, the really interesting thing to me was I was one of the only streamers that was really bridging the gap between crypto and freedom and sovereignty back then. I was streaming about liberalism and Marxism and socialism and the impacts it had on society and all that. And man, everything was like, I got really excited. I started doing my research on the organization. At first I was like worried, because what's the first thing when you think about stuff like that? All the bad things, the scum of society. But this was very, very far from that. So I talked to Matt and I said, dude, I would love to do it. And I think either right before that or shortly after, Richard Hart is on stream and he's talking about Pulsechain. And I'm like, man, this is just perfect. And Richard says, I can't, and I quote, I can't wait to see what cool things Hexkins build on Pulsechain.
Right.
And I felt like, I was like, gosh, man, I love these people. This is my home. I can talk about things that I actually care about, and people aren't shunning me. And I love everything. Looking back on it though, the problem was I didn't have the perspective of you guys about what happened to you guys prior like in the early days of Hex.
Yeah,
And
we have that
people
whole
coming-
history. Yeah,
the whole history. I was like naive and excited and like, let's go. And everything changed really quickly once I started talking about this. And it was like it was a shock to me. Now, I'm not saying that to turn myself into a victim. I'm saying that to say that I completely understand why people would have that reaction based on all the bad stuff that happened.
Yeah.
And as I got further along, even while we were developing Texan and then getting into these YouTube videos, and I started doing reaction videos to people that were destroying Hex. And because it was just disgusting. It was lie after lie after lie after lie. It didn't matter what type of evidence you had to refute it. And I'm the type of person that I want the truth to be out there. You know, even if I don't agree with somebody or something, or somebody's my enemy, I'll still be truthful about it. And so especially with something that I love. And I, you know, I didn't have that context. I thought I was going to be doing something to really contribute in a strong way to Pulsechain. And I was very blind to people's feelings about what that looked like from their perspective. I do not at all. I'm not apologetic about creating this project for this organization, because ultimately that's what it is. And I've done my best to make sure that I'm being very, very careful not to try to steal community and things like that. You know, I rarely use Hex hashtags. I am a Pulsechain guy. I consider myself a Pulsechain OG. I'm not a Hex OG. But I support Hex in a major way. It's giving me all the knowledge and everything about crypto, and so is RH, and I'm very thankful for that.
No, absolutely. And I want to commend you on the work that you're doing, because you know, we just talked about this in DMs the other day. We lost a lot of streamers. We lost a lot of voices. It's a terrible bear market right now, but you are, and Crypto Heartbeat's still out there. You know, you're streaming every other day. You dive very deep in political things, as you mentioned, social topics, the Bud Light, the thing you did about the Bud Light, that cracked me up. Fair enough. You also talk about other projects. This year is rather more Hex-centered, because that is just, you know, it's spawned from the Discourse Syndicate, and that has always sort of been the motto here. But fair enough. But you also talk a lot about the good things that can come from Hex and Pulsechain. So you're a very, very valuable member of the
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the work you put into, because this shit, guys, may look easier than it actually is. You have to come up with content. You have to think about what to say, how to say it. And you just said when you caught a little bit of flag. You even caught a bit of flag for doing this interview last week with the lawyer, right?
Yeah.
We wanted to touch on that real quick. Papa B, didn't you have a question or something you wanted to?
I have several questions
on that? Several questions, Your Honor.
I mean, I take an interest in the law, and but I mean, I am, just from the fact that I'm from Southern California and have had to go to court a few times, take on major banks, and go through multi-year sessions, you know, in depositions and discoveries and all sorts of debates. And just when you think that you've got a case that just can't possibly lose, you've got a judge that wakes up on the wrong side of the bed and says, I guess I better find for the one that I don't believe in, just so people will think that I'm even-handed and reelect me. So then you get that, and it's a big jaw dropper, but that's the way it works.
It's the politics
in this
too.
case, I loved your time that you invested like over 2 hours of time dissecting this whole thing with a legal beagle. And I think after it was all done, I wondered if the layman would not take away the right thing from that type of exposition, examination. I wonder if is it the part 1 of a part 2 episode, because it certainly would be interesting to see how he deals with he was almost looking at it as a criminal tort, but it's not a criminal tort. It's a civil tort with criminal intentions, but it has to be qualified as a security first before any of this holds water. Is that correct?
Yeah. the way that he explained it. Well, let me take a step back here to answer your question. Yeah, the plan is to have the other side of the argument. That's the plan. The other thing that I want to let people know about that stream was prior to, I said, listen, man, I want you to do this through the eyes of the SEC so people can potentially understand the sorts of things that might be coming out of their mouths eventually. It might have been better for me to provide that context in the beginning. To be quite honest, I during the stream, I said, man, I understand what's happening right now, but this sounds really, really tough. And it sounds really, really scary to most people. And you notice that I started kind of providing context and softening up and saying, hey guys, this is, worst case scenario here. We just want to get all the facts out. But
the best takeaway, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
yeah, go ahead.
You did an effective job of this. I didn't think that it was all gloom and doom. What I was really fascinated by, and what kept me listening for the entire amount of time, was the fact that he was making a case for the SEC being able to effectively do as they please. Like, they don't have to have even a well-written complaint or position. They can actually just simply whisper something roundabout about something and then shore it up later with more support. And that was something that I was really interested in, the way that you dealt with that with the conversation. Is that really the way it's like? I mean, the SEC can just fuck things up, slip all over their dicks, and then worry about better positions later.
I think that whole conversation really kind of got started when I was talking about all of the discrepancies that we saw in the court filings. And I said, hey, listen, man, a lot of the stuff that I was seeing on Twitter, Papa B, was people saying, oh, it's going to get thrown out as soon as it gets in because of all these discrepancies. And I wanted to address those directly so people could hear that and they start spreading truth on Twitter. And so we started going down that, and that really actually, it's funny that that surprised me. It surprised me that they were allowed in a court of law with so many restrictions and so many systems in place and procedures, that they would be allowed so much leeway to come back and change things up. And I'm saying, well, that's not really a fair fight. Doesn't seem
that's
like.
not fair.
So putting myself back in that situation, I remember thinking, I don't know if you can see it on my face in the stream. I'm like, sounds crazy.
No, but I enjoyed the stream too. I'm just concerned for time. Like, can you give us like a 15-minute overtime?
As much as you want.
Can we do that? Because we wasted like half an hour talking about PDI, and that was really a waste. But I have two more things that I want to touch on. One also regarding the stream. One thing, and that's actually my concern, because we all read the 60 points there that they mentioned, and again, first thought was, no, this is not right. He said this, but he meant it this way, and not how it's being portrayed. And this point after point after point is like this, where we all, as Hexicans, first reaction is, this is crap. But my worry about this whole thing, and this was kind of coming with even more worry listening to the lawyer talk that you had on the show, that when he said things like, oh yeah, you can be cute like that, mentioning on your Twitter bio, I'm not reading messages, or you can be cute in the way saying this is a sacrifice, your money is gone. So when something looks like an ICO, but you made up all these disclaimers and things to make it not that, if a judge gets presented this, and to a judge it may look like an ICO, and me being in court as well a few times on business related cases, my worry is actually the judge. How will the judge look at what's being presented? Maybe you can speak to that idea that, for example, in a murder case, for example, the judge would be different because they really want to find out the truth. But in a business case, one company or one entity against the other about, some things, this company didn't pay this one, the judge sometimes just rules by, which is crazy, not what is actually the truth or what has happened, but what may be the easiest thing for him to get this thing out of his court, because he has 40 other cases like this sitting on his desk waiting to get through, and it's already a Friday at 3:00, and he's going on holiday for the next.
He needs to golf, yeah.
Which he needs to go to the golf course, which is the reality the sad reality in a court of law, because you would think that they absolutely go finding out the real actual truth, and that might not happen in such a case. Do you share that concern, or do you think it's not applicable?
So I'm not a legal professional, and I'm just going to say that to say, but I've also spent an inordinate amount of time studying all sorts of cases from all over the place. When you think it's open and shut, like Papa B says, but then you show up, and the one thing that you have to remember is you cannot remove bias from a human being. The other thing that you have to remember is you got to understand what these lawyers are being taught in law school. They're being taught critical theory. You might have heard critical race theory, offshoots. Okay. This is the sort of thing that politicizes and causes judges to be very ideological in their rulings. And it's not based on jurisprudence and not necessarily based on precedent. So I would say that yes, there is unfortunately a lot of leeway, and yes, it's important to find out who the actual judge is. I will say that the judge that has been appointed, we found out by taking a look at the docket, is a Republican judge. It's a female. She does have experience in fraud cases and things like that. Now, this was not appointed. This was not appointed by somebody. It was randomized. So she got the tag here. So it could be good. It could be bad. I would say that just off the top of my head, a Republican judge, I feel better than somebody steeped in all the other stuff that's out there. But yes, to answer your question, it so depends on the person who's taking a look at this. It so depends on it.
Because I've seen it happen that they go by just a story that a witness brought up, and because they found a way there on how they can finish this easy. And then I lost the case once with my company because that's exactly what happened. And then we actually didn't understand during the procedure when this happened. And then I actually called the judge up a week later when we get to read the verdict. And I said, hey, this is not how this went. Like, how can you just go by what this one person says? And he was like, yeah, well, that's how I ruled it. And you are free to go into appeal. And then I called the higher ups, and they said, no, we're not taking this to appeal. We cut our losses here. Forget about this. Not worth it. But I'm just saying this is what can happen. So
can I speak to that appeal notion? Well, there's two things I want to speak to that, and then I got one
yes, Your
question
Honor.
For you all. Okay. May I approach the bench? So in my experience, and knowing judges as I do, the last thing that a local judge wants to do is upturn or overrule something that another judge that they play tennis or golf with has just come down with, because then they know the repercussions are that opens up a floodgate and a little bit of a feud. You don't want anything that you put down on paper in a court of law to be overturned or challenged as a judge. And especially if it gets overruled, because then it's like, oh, open the floodgates, and then you have your power is diminished. That's what I heard from a judge. He's like, we don't like to challenge each other. Of course we don't. So you can try your appeals and waste a lot of money, but once it's down, you're really behind the eight ball. So that was one thing that I heard directly from a judge. And another thing is, I'm wondering, you guys, it's easy to understand through the tomes of law where the SEC is coming against Richard. The question I have for you guys as Hexicans or Pulsicans or Pulsexicans, whatever the hell you want to call yourself, is how orchestrated, how prepared, how many times have we heard from Richard what would happen if How prepared is our man Richard in all of this?
Judging by the tweets he puts out, I don't know, man. because I'm like I'm jokingly saying that when I read his tweets about freedom of speech and stuff, like
he's
he's
laying
right.
out his case.
He's right, but on the other side, he's sounding like the sovereign citizens YouTube videos where police stop someone and the guy refuses to
I
identify
understand
himself.
that. But Peter, I read in that his counsel is telling him he's got a very narrow kind of corridor by which he can communicate, and there's only certain like things that he can say at this point, especially now that there's an accusation, there's an indictment, it is now on paper. You may only say these things.
I think he is super prepared with a team of lawyers. That's my impression. Because I remember in the year before Hex launched, he mentioned a few, like he played this case through basically with the Howey test and are we a security or not. Like every Hexican knows the Howey test. I mean, this is how crazy this is. Because he saw this coming already before he launched the Hex contract. So I would think that he's very, very much prepared. I'm just trying to say that preparing is one thing, but the reality, the day-to-day reality, disturbing a judge during his lunch break and shit like this can have also an influence and an impact in a court of law. Brandon, what do you think?
Well, I think Peter was going to make a comment. I don't want to cut him off.
Peter,
we don't like to hear from Peter.
I have a question that I will ask later after you.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to establish in that stream and talk about, which we did, was looking at the verbiage that was on Richard's Twitter. And basically, you know, we kind of get the idea that the reason he says he's not reachable by any of these mediums is because he doesn't want to be served. Okay. I think that has a lot to do with his lawyers. Okay. Yep. Very important. And here's the thing, guys, this is it's a battle. It's a battle from the second that he got served. It's the battle from the second that he understood that people were being investigated and it had to do with him. So the game has to be played now. He's playing the game. If he can stall, for example, one of the conclusions that I came to was, you know, if they have a problem serving him and that stalls the process at all, the more time the better, because we've got Coinbase and XRP, the titans right now, just going, they're spending all their money to get the precedent that we need for our case. So I think this is going to be, I think time is on our side. If we can draw this out as long as possible, especially with the presidential elections, the Republicans drafting legislation to kick SEC Gensler, Chair Gensler out, the new information about Hester Pierce, who could be his replacement, who's the crypto mom of the industry, and she loves crypto. You know, this could all go away overnight. If Janet Yellen dies and Gary Gensler gets promoted, you know, guys, so time's on our side, and I'm seeing that he's actually calculated with what he's saying. I agree. There's a very small corridor, narrow window of things that he can say not to implicate himself in a court of law, in my opinion.
This reminds me of the CoinMarketCap lawsuit, because it got dropped because nobody could have been served, right?
So here's the process. You got served on Twitter, which is why Richard says I don't read Twitter, any DMs or anything like that. Yeah. So there's a bunch of shell companies that were involved with CoinMarketCap, CoinMarketCap and Binance and CZ. So they would go to a physical location and, hey, there's no building there, or hey, this is a sandwich shop. And they kept doing it. I had the lawyer discuss the process. He says after they've tried so many times to do that, they go to a judge, and the judge determines what the court would deem responsible to serve him, and they'll probably serve him via Twitter because he posts on Twitter and things of that nature. So he'll probably get served on Twitter, I'd imagine.
Yeah. And my question is, why haven't we seen any technical updates?
About Pulsechain?
Pulsechain.
There was one on testnet.
Especially Pulsex, because in my opinion, Pulsex is
a bit,
kind of a shit show right now.
Yeah. The thing that concerned me initially was we weren't seeing this because they had issued some sort of injunction on development, a stop on an order. But that kind of went out the window because when the charges came out, what you'll see the SEC do, and I was actually looking at this today with one of the latest press releases, but they'll immediately go to a judge after the charges come out, and then they'll petition the court to do that stopgap measure to make sure no further investors are damaged. So I know that that's not the case. I think that it just has a lot to do with not being able to tie Richard to the development in any way of Pulsechain. So I would imagine that from a legal standpoint, that's what it is. That's pure speculation, but I think it makes sense legally.
Right.
But okay.
I have a question.
But if they can't tie him to it, why don't we have limit
Dismissed,
orders?
Your Honor.
Thank you. I object.
I object.
Okay, so let's just boil this down. In a fraud case, there has to be somebody who is a victim of fraud. There has to be some kind of promise of something that effectively is not accomplished, and then that person has to effectively disappear and not answer back when somebody says, "I want my money back." I don't think we have any of those three things, do we?
So they're trying to establish. I don't think they do. That's my first answer.
No,
but let
we
me
don't.
tell you what I think they're trying to do. They are. Okay, there was no investment contract. That's going to be huge in all of this. All the paperwork we see, everything like that. There's no investment contract. So what do they do?
No
They invest.
investors.
Right. They resort to the word scheme. So investment contract or scheme is in the actual documentation. If you go back, they added that years and years ago. So now they have to prove that it's either an investment contract or it's some sort of scheme. That's going to be the difficulty. Now, if it is an investment contract or a scheme, and they determine that that's the case, then they can go and say, okay, this investment contract, you gathered all this money and you misappropriated $12 million and defrauded the customers. So it's building blocks. So that's how they're trying to build this case right now. They have to prove that it's that, and then they can say he defrauded people because he misappropriated money that people thought was going to be used for the development. But then what happens after that? Well, how can you prove that that came from his wallet if it went through a so-called mixer, like you said, inside? And then the question becomes, was he doing it for marketing? Okay. Instead of his own personal gain. And where's the stuff now? So there's a lot going on there, man. There's a lot. But like the lawyer said, it's just, you got to take these battles and you got to win them one at a time.
Yeah. And somebody, more than one person said, "Oh, he'll settle." But the answer that I gave
those battles.
Well, I gave them this retort, and that was the last time Richard settled because it wasn't worth his time and effort, and it cost more to appear in a court of law. Yeah. He paid the fine and then got like a decade worth of shit for it.
Yeah, years.
so this time I say
$500.
Yeah, and if the stakes are now $12 million, of course we imagine Richard Hart can just kind of pay that fine, and he's prepared for it. Obviously, if he had been a successful miner back in the day, and other personal things, he could manage that fine quite easily. However, how would you like to pay $12 million and then still be labeled a scammer? So I think that
settling is not.
Yeah, settling is not in the cards here. I don't think the SEC will handle it. Will accept it. And I don't think
depends what that looks like. If it looks like you can settle without committing to any that you've made any legal mistakes or any wrongdoing, and you can just keep on trucking, then maybe to just get it out the way. But if you have to commit an injunction, you cannot be active in crypto anymore.
We have to socialize
That's
that. DJ Crypto.
Yeah,
it's up to us though, Cryptomatic, over the next 2 years to socialize this to the masses and say, look, no wrongdoing. Here's the document, and they'll still say, fuck him. They'll still say it for no reason other than they hate our symbol. They hate our community. They hate us.
A Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, please. I'm
Okay.
rambling.
I think the outcome doesn't matter in terms of trying to get those haters on board. I think the outcome of this matters from a legal documentation standpoint, in the result, in terms of the influencers that are going to talk about Pulsechain and Hex. That's what I think. I think it's awesome that we don't have to wait for any type of ruling to now establish to the entire world that we are not a pyramid, a Ponzi, or any other scam. Why? Because we know that they talk about that on the SEC. They charge people with those three things, and none of those popped up with Hex. So from now on, that's awesome. Now, okay, so what's the next worst thing that we could get FUD from? Okay, he misappropriated $12 million out of $12 billion, and let's say Richard does decide to settle because he weighs the risks, this and that. I don't think that's really going to matter, because I think from what I've heard, being in those Twitter spaces with the Wolf of All Streets and talking to Scott Melker on his YouTube channel, and then Mario Narfall talking to him, they're like, this is like $12 million. That's bullshit. That's pretty much what they're signaling. So I think either way, if we win this or if we lose this, I don't think it's going to be bad.
I don't think
in the long run
other communities should talk shit about this, because it could possibly affect them, the outcome of this.
Yeah,
100%.
All of this.
Very true. Yeah. No, but thank you for having done that stream with the lawyer. And yeah, okay, don't let people get into your head and talking bad stuff about that on Twitter or whatever. I mean, I get it. Yes, it creates FUD, but same as here, we just said that the judge might rule in a certain way, might take it sideways. That also creates FUD, but the price is in the shit tank anyway, so you might as well, I really appreciate you doing this like fact-finding mission and information, trying to get to the bottom of this. You just do it in public on your streams, and I think it's good content. So
if we can't speak freely about these things, then what are we worth as a community?
Yeah, don't let people tear you from your mission there, sir.
And that's the armor that we sheathe ourselves with is the truth. And if we can change the narrative, if we can speak truth, that we got the knowledge, then we just become so much more effective in arguments and debates, and it's just so much better for everybody, and it makes us stronger and closer. So that's why we do it.
For the end of the show, we need to get to some more fun things. First, we have
after all of this fun.
I want face painting and clowns and jugglers.
Are you joking? Are you joking, Crypto?
As a transition, I have a joke from Finbear. Hold on to your hats, guys.
Oh God.
I took the shell off my racing snail to make it go a bit faster, but it just made it more sluggish.
Oh dear. I have another one, actually. Hold on to your hats.
I was promised
Not
fun.
wearing sandals. Philippe Falop.
So
I like this one. Peter didn't get it. Okay.
I didn't catch it. It was like the end.
Philippe Falop. Okay, hold on.
Sandals. Philippe Falop.
So you're Brandon, you're also this DJ on the weekends, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So you always say why on your tweets? Because I love doing it.
Yeah.
And I can obviously relate to that. Being a retired DJ now myself, I still get it out for the Hex community on the Twitch. But I used to do this professionally from, I want to say 92 to 2003. Like for 11 years, I played the big clubs. In my hometown area. So I was like a party DJ, but in the nightclubs. And you are doing these, like, is this a wedding or is this a fundraiser event?
This is like a wedding reception here.
Wedding reception. So, but playing to a crowd like this, what would be the first 3 songs? How would you open up an event like this? What would be the first 3 songs?
Long live love.
You play. Love is in the air.
So it depends on the all right. So when I scan the crowd, Are they below the age of 50 or above the age of 50? That's important. And then also the time of night. It has a lot to do with alcohol. So if it's at the very beginning, then I'm just going to play like the good oldies, stuff from the, 40s, 50s, 60s, that type of stuff, 70s. So maybe like the Contours, just to warm things, but upbeat stuff, even like Jerry Lee Lewis, some of the upbeat Elvis Presley stuff, just background music, making people feel good, that people are smiling and they start mixing, social lubricant starts kicking in, the alcohol and then you just kind of I'll start throwing in like higher energy just to see how people take to it. I'll look at their heads, I'll see if they're nodding, I'll look at their feet, I'll see if they're tapping.
Right. What would be a first high energy song? Like actually high energy by Evelyn what's her name? Thomas?
I smoked 2 joints.
Yeah, right. So I'll get into the next phase will be funky stuff. All right. And so I'll throw in some Michael Jackson to get people warmed up, get them close to the BPM. Cool in the Gang, all that sort of stuff, man. And
Hall and Oates too,
dude. We'll throw in some
Private Eyes. Woo!
Out of touch.
Do you know?
We're out of touch. Wait, what are the songs that you avoid? That's the more important thing. Like Suspicious Eyes, or what do you not play?
I don't play anything pretty much that was made from 2010 on, essentially.
Rags2Riches.
It's no good.
Do you know the Dan Band?
Dan Band?
Yes.
No, I don't know the
Have you
Dan
seen
Band.
Hangover or
All Total Eclipse of the Heart, Hangover.
Yes,
yeah.
sneak that in.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I guess.
What if a 15-year-old comes up to you while you're DJing and says, "I've got a request," and you say, "What is it, Sonny?" And he says, "Da fuck shop."
Yeah.
Are you gonna do it or not?
I'll tell you what, if I got a clean version, I'll play it. If I don't, I'm sorry. Okay, all right.
What if after the third hour, like a real tipsy cougar comes, like hanging with her cleavage over your mixer? You know that type of situation.
Nice.
This doesn't work for me. I need some old school.
So here's what you can do. You can hit him with a curveball and play Sweet Caroline, and that gets him off you real quick.
That's October.
Or here's the neat thing. They've turned the wobble into a very versatile song. So it can be a line dance or it can be a ghetto booty shaking trap thing. So you play wobble and that'll get her off your case. And if she can just forget about it with one song, and you can keep her away with other songs after that.
Keep going. Exactly.
Just get her salivating over the waiter. That's the.
So
that's
you also play these like sports events here.
Yeah.
Is the House of Pain? Is this was going down? We have to talk over it because of the copyright. So, House of Pain. This is what gets people going.
Yeah. So that was I traveled.
White people with hats.
It is. Well, you'll get why in a second. I traveled down to Georgia. Devil went down to Georgia, and there was a resort, and the resort is built on an island in the middle of the lake, but it's a huge resort, and they had the Collegiate Triathlon Championships of America.
Right.
So the reason that those people were jamming out to that song is because that's Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin's like main theme song is Jump. So, and they had just their teammates were there at the line cheering them on, and I kicked that on and they went crazy. So it was
They didn't want the 1984 Van Halen Jump, huh?
No,
no longer does it, eh? Okay.
And not the Pete Rock remix.
With the right amount of alcohol, anything works. I promise. Anything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So before we go, we always play a little game on this show here, and I want to put Brandon to the test here as well. But we let Papa B go first. It's the battle of the wits.
Okay.
Between Papa Boner and Rags2Riches. Papa B, are you ready for the 12 seed words?
I don't know if I can see them in my screen, but we'll try it. We'll try it.
We'll try our best. So hold on, I have a jingle. Hold on. And then I want to put Brandon to the test here.
Yes, let Brandon try.
tales and great adventures with Papa Boner spilling his seeds.
So these are 12 seed words from an actual Ethereum wallet, and Papa B is in charge to make
I can read them to you.
Here we go.
a
12
funny
seed words.
story
Ready?
mentioning
I can
these
barely
12
read.
words.
You're not gonna see my face, but you'll hear my voice.
So what are we doing here? How do I play this game?
We're gonna make a story up with the random seed words.
We just
that are
listen.
generated.
We just
Okay.
It
listen.
has to be a contiguous type of tale. You can say whatever you want, but you have to use all the words as quickly
Okay.
as you can. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So would you like to do this one, or would you like me to try?
No, you have to go first.
Okay,
I have like a thing
All
here.
right. Well, let me see if I can read this text.
Oh my God, this is the
I've
old
been
man
breathing
get the
copious
glasses
ozone
segment.
in this latest episode of Papa Boner Spills His Seeds, and I vehemently disagree with the issues with the tropical rainforests, the panther problems, and my firm is willing to flash a amazing case together in as much time, because my memory is not what it is anymore. I don't even know where to begin, but I'll tell you this. We intend to topple, that is, bring the bad guys down to forest. The Panthers are 100% protected, and we effectively want to be a thought leader in the space and help them out. Thank you very much.
Well done. So Brandon, are you up for the task?
Yeah. Well, I don't have a
You
choice.
can't
Let's
say
do it.
no. You
Don't have a
can't
choice.
say
Actually,
no.
I have a jingle prepared. Hold on.
Okay.
Jingle first. Jingle's matter.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you can now witness Brandon, the supreme leader of the Rags2Riches community, make a complete fool of himself. Enjoy.
Enjoy. So let me share the screen. So we've updated the words. Go,
Okay.
Brandon.
All right, guys, you wouldn't believe it. There I was on an old county road. I got pulled over. Police officer asked me for my license. All right. Now, I'm not going to lie. I was feeling kind of screwy that day, and I had a little bit too much to drink. So I pulled my pants down and started dancing naked. I don't know why, but I was dancing naked here. I looked up at the police officer's face, man, and you want to talk about an absolute look of doom and gloom on his face when he saw this ginger dude going crazy on the side of this county road. In fact, I thought I knew which way home was, so I pointed in that direction and took off in the middle of a cornfield. All right, this guy, he's pretty big dude, pretty muscular. In fact, he looked like he could probably be in his 40s, maybe a dad. I thought I could outrun him pretty well. Well, I just take off running like a bat out of hell. I'm turning around to try to find him, see how close he is behind me, and I crash directly into a tractor in the middle of the field. All right, now it was crazy. First and foremost, guys. I mean, I know you're not even going to believe what I'm saying here, but it was the middle of summertime, and I swear when I came to, everything looked like autumn. It looked like leaves everywhere, the stars going crazy, like a twilight night sky, this and that. And I said, man, I thought to myself, this story is going to serve to really, really enrich my life moving forward. In fact, I saw a flying kitten come across my field of view. And guys, and then I woke up, and it turns out I was actually at a wedding, and I was at a bachelor party, and I passed out in the lounge. And this lounge happened to be in a bar called the Bunker. There we go.
That was pretty fucking cool.
Very impressive.
Nice.
Salute.
Wonderfully done.
Well done. Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. You have the final words. Anything you wish to say to our beloved audience who held out with us for 1.5 hours? This is a very unusual overtime. Otherwise, you may shill anything that you may want to shill. I know you're asking always people not to join, subscribe to your YouTube channel and follow you on Twitter, although I've put the links in the description below. Anything you have on your minds, any closing words?
Guys, it really boils down to this. Push comes to shove, all this bad stuff's happening right now, but streams like this and the relationships that you're building, that's what matters. And guys, just stick with it. I think everything's going to be all right in the long run here. And all rate looks a lot of different ways. So we'll be good. Keep it up, guys. Thanks for streaming. Thanks for being that support group for folks too. Thank you.
Outro.